What's up, everybody? It's another day, and you know that means it's another chance for a win. Here's what I want to talk about this morning. I'm making my drive to work, and I was at work yesterday. Had a little bit of an unusual day at work. Because I was doing something I don't normally do at work. And throughout the course of the day, a friend of mine sent me this article about Rick Ankiel, who was a pitcher for the Cardinals years ago. First of all, I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. I love the Cardinals. My favorite Cardinal of all time is Willie McGee, center fielder for the Cardinals. 1985 MVP. I love Willie McGee. He's my favorite Cardinal ever. And then I could throw out a bunch of other ones. I was a huge Ozzie Smith fan. Jim Edmonds. Loved Jim Edmonds. He always got the big hit, and he was a great defensive player. Loved Jim Edmonds. I'm a Pujols fan. I'm over Pujols going to the Angels. I'm not mad at him. I'm a Pujols fan. But one of my favorite Cardinals ever, I would say probably in my top 3 or 4 Cardinals of all time, is Rick Ankiel. And that's what I want to talk about today. If you didn't get a chance to see the article that he wrote for the Players Tribune, check it out. I'll try to find it and post it. But it was excellent. Rick Ankiel came up with the Cardinals he was drafted at age 18, phenomenal left-handed pitcher. He comes up with the Cardinals, basically gets called up by the time he's 19, right before he's about to turn 20, which never happens. It never, ever, ever happens with a pitcher that young. He gets called up, and, you know, a lot of young guys get called up to the major leagues and struggle. Rick Ankiel gets called up for the Cardinals and just dominates. Totally dominates. So he gets up there, he's dominating, just dominating. And then all of a sudden, one game in the playoffs, he throws a wild pitch. And it's one of the strangest stories in sports. When Rick Ankiel lost it and he started throwing wild pitches, this guy went from being one of the best pitchers on the planet, the guy that's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, to being, he couldn't even throw the ball to the catcher anymore. You know, it was just a weird thing. So the Cardinals sent him down. They let him try to rehab, let him try to make his way back up. And for whatever reason, he just could never throw strikes again. So first of all, I want you to think about that. Being at the absolute apex of your profession to where you're not even amateur status anymore overnight. I mean, like, how would you react to that? You know, I mean, Rick Ankiel, he struggled with this. And in case you're not familiar with baseball, it's almost impossible for a pitcher to come back and be a position player, because the way they train pitchers from the time they're in high school through the minor leagues, they never hit. They really don't ever work on batting or work on being a particular position player anymore. So Rick Ankiel goes back to the minor leagues. He's such a good athlete that they tell him, hey, why don't you become an outfielder? It took Rick Ankiel 7 years in the minor leagues before he came back up as an outfielder. He made it all the way back to the major leagues, which is just a miracle that the guy was able to do that. But then after that, he was not only on the team, he ended up being a starter. He ended up, I don't know how many years he played in the major leagues as an outfielder, but he had a phenomenal career as a major league outfielder. And I heard a statistic one time, the only 2 players in major league history to do this in pitching and this in batting, like Rick Ankiel did, was Rick Ankiel and Babe Ruth. And if you stop and think about that, we all know who Babe Ruth is. I mean, that's just a phenomenal thing that he did. And the point of the story is this right here. Don't give up. This guy had all the talent in the world. He had money. He could have just walked away from it. But he didn't give up. It took him 7 years. I mean, 7 years to get back. I mean, how many of us would have give up by then? And I guess that's the lesson for me. One of my really good friends, she always says, in life there are no regrets, because regret is just kind of a waste of time, but there are lifelong lessons. So in other words, when you go through a situation and you say, man, I would do that different if I had another chance, don't regret what happened, just learn from it. And that would be the advice I would give myself looking back, is just to be a little more patient. You know, maybe if I would have sat still for just a minute right here, you know, something good would have happened to me. I don't know if I could have waited 7 years to do what Rick Ankiel did. So don't give up. Don't give up. You know, Rick Ankiel, like I said, he's one of my favorite Cardinals ever, but not because he was one of the best Cardinals ever. He was a good player. I just admire him that he didn't give up. And so anyway, thanks for listening today. Think about that as you're going through your day. You know, don't give up. Sometimes we got to be patient, and we got to understand this is going to take a while. And the way that you start is by making today a good day. Make today a win. That's what I say every day. And so hopefully you can make today a win. Thanks for listening. Check out the website. We've got a news section on the website now. There's all kinds of stories and things like on there for education, for coaching, for, you know, just for everything. So if you've got kids or you're a teacher or a coach, I guarantee there's something on there for you to read or tell your kids about. So everybody have a good day. JWT.